Antic Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about Star Wars Andor Season 1, Episode 4, and my thoughts on this episode. It's improving, I will say that for this show, but the same problems are still there from the last three episodes. It is a bit boring. Now, if you're a Star Wars fan, you can pick out the Easter eggs and a few mentions of certain races or empires that they talk about in this show. But if you're a normie watching this, you're going to get a bit lost and a bit bored. Now, I'm absolutely fascinated with how they're handling the Empire in this show. They're not making it look like morons. I've got to give them credit for that because, this is Disney, this is Lucasfilm. They don't tend to do the right thing with the Empire. They keep making them look ridiculously stupid, and that's pretty bad for a show because, again, these people are supposed to be fighting this mega empire. If this mega empire is full of morons, it kind of makes defeating them pointless or at least boring. So I'll give them credit for that. And the sets on this show are amazing, especially when there's a scene in the Imperial's IFB base, and it looked great. There's been so much thought being put into the sets, and I like that. And it does show that the people running this are at least trying to make it feel like Star Wars and look, professional as well. So I do like that about this show. But again, the problems with this show is the pacing needs just to be improved. And the biggest problem for this entire series going forward is Andor. No offense to the actor, I know he can do better. I've seen him in Narcos Mexico. This guy can act. This guy is a great actor. The problem is, they don't know what they're doing with him. They just keep putting him in like one position and another position, and he's not talking that much either. He seems to be that kid in the corner who's quiet, and you kind of need him to stop being that character. He needs to take more of a lead in this show. And yeah, a lot of the Andor scenes are just boring to get, and they're a struggle to get through. And I don't blame the actor at all for this. I blame the writers and I blame the director. Again, you need to make Andor more interesting. He needs to have more of an impact on an episode. And yeah, but other than that, I think it's an okay episode. I love the fact we're finding out more about the Empire, and I love the fact we're finding out more about the political side, at least a little bit in this episode. I can't wait for next week's episode where I think they're going to go into more depth about that. But yeah, strong episode. If I'm going to give it out of 10, I will give it a 6. It's not great, but it's not bad. And I still haven't seen anything woke or annoying in it yet. So, credit there. So it's a 6 out of 10 for me. And yeah, it's a good episode. So let's go into the spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So, episode starts off with us on Hendor's ship, or what's his name again? Levin's ship with Andor. Andor's kind of patching himself up after the fight they had with Corporation Security. And Levon's pretty much asking Andor, do you want to join him with the rebellion? Do you want to help him fight the Empire? And Andor brings like good points like, yes, and he's tried everything. He's joined up with people to fight the Empire. He knows about other groups that have fought the Empire and they've all lost. So what's the point in fighting something that keeps winning? And Levitt says, listen, we're probably not going to have a massive victory over the Empire, but wouldn't you like to have one victory over them? And it also says apparently Andor did serve in the Imperial military as a cook. That kind of seems a bit racist to me. I am going to say that. Why you... Again, this isn't the problem with like Disney writing, or at least Lucasfilm or woke writing. You put in the Latino in the kitchen. Why? Why not say he was a fucking soldier? Why not say he was a stormtrooper? Oh, because the stormtroopers are bad people. Yeah, but he just joined the Empire. He's left it now. Making them a chef just seems racist to me. So apparently he fought on that Mumbar planet, where Solo was fighting as well. Apparently he was also there. and the Empire got apparently not defeated but lost a lot of troops there, and Andor was one of 50 who survived in that war. So we find out a little bit more about Andor in this episode. But so Levon gives him the choice: do you want to stay? Do you want to go? Andor kind of says he'll make his mind up later. So Levon goes to meet a contact, and so they land on the planet, gives Andor the choice again. Andor says fine, he'll do it. And so Levon gives Andor something to keep him safe, or something to show that he trusts him. He gives him a kyber crystal, or at least I think it's a kyber crystal, but he says it's a kyber crystal from the Rakata Empire. Now I do respect that they are mentioning the old history of Star Wars, because you don't know, the Rakatan Empire was the first species that kind of knew how to take control of the Force. And when they took control, no, they weren't the first, were they? They were introduced to it, but they were the first to use it in the dark side way. Because that's what killed the Rakata. They only used the Force for the dark side. And that's how they created a massive empire. That's how the galaxy got formed. You know, like humans got created. And all the species came together to fight the Rakata. So I like the callback with that. So Levon goes to meet his contact. It's a woman. And apparently they've now set up a mission on this planet that they've gone to. And Andor is going to help this group of rebels deal a blow to the Empire. Now, the plan is, because I want to get through the Andor stuff quick, because it is unfortunately very boring. So Andor meets this woman called Val, that's her name, Val. And she's leading this group of rebels who are planning to do an operation against the Empire. So we find out the operation is to steal... This is so dumb. To steal the money for the garrison, basically. So the Empire holds a base that holds their money, and it's near this dam, and it's a kind of secure place, but it's not that secure, because Val tells Andor whilst they're walking to the base, because what happens is Val meets Andor. She's annoyed that Andor's been added to the team, but Levon says he's good, he'll help you win this, he'll help you finish the operation, and we'll be able to get one big victory over the Empire. So Levon leaves Andor with the group, or at least with this woman. So they walk through the mountains to get to her camp where the other rebels are, and she explains to him what they are, what they're doing, or at least some of what they're doing. And then she explains what the Empire has done on this planet, because apparently they've gone to like this old community campsite that used to have these people on it, and Andor asks what happened to the people on this planet, and it was just the Empire came and the Empire built cities or built housing for the people. Now, I don't know if they know this is correct, but you do realise you make the Empire sound good when you say that, right? Because Val says this was a bad thing, because all these people used to live in huts, but now they live in accommodations built by the Empire. Because they didn't get forced, by the way. The Empire didn't put blasters to their heads and make them move. Apparently this was they chose to move into the Empire's towns to live in these new houses. So the Empire came, made a dam to build equipment to give all these people jobs, and they also built them homes. You're kind of making the Empire sound like something good. Now, they could have said in this scene, the Empire has forced these people into these housing estates and they're built like shit, but they never do explain that, no. Val just says they built homes and the people decide to live in those houses instead of huts. So, it is a kind of stupid thing for them to do to make the Empire sound that good, but there you go. So Val gets to the campsite, to get to the rebel campsite with Andor. The rebels there are not exactly happy about the new face, because again, they're about a few days from, starting the operation to steal the money from the Empire. Now, I just want to say this about the whole mission itself. So the plan is to nick the money from the Empire. That's the big plan for the rebels right now, to steal money from the Empire. Kind of seems a bit boring, and how is that supposed to spark a rebellion? I mean, you're just stealing money from the Empire that the Empire can replace like quick as hell. I mean, you're stealing like £1 from a billionaire. I mean, it just doesn't feel like a rebel attack. If you're just stealing money from the Empire, like destroying the dam would be a big enough statement, because they explain in this scene the Empire dammed up this sacred river, and there's this, apparently the people used to come here, or the people of the planet used to come here to pray to their god or whatever, and now they've stopped the dam. I mean, blocked the water. Apparently that's affected the people, and the people don't come here to celebrate anymore, or at least not as much. So wouldn't destroying the dam be a bigger statement than stealing the money of Imperial soldiers? Again, it just doesn't feel like a rebel attack. It just feels like a bunch of pirates just nicked the pay checks of soldiers. So I kind of wish it was better. I kind of doubt that's what's going to happen in the episode. I kind of bet the dam is going to get destroyed, and it's going to be because Andor did something smart. And if they do that, I respect them for it. But yeah, having the plan basically be we're going to steal some money and some rifles from the Empire, it just doesn't sound like massively important. Doesn't sound like it's going to inspire people to join the rebellion. So I think they should make a better plan, or at least a better episode explaining what the rebels are doing. So all the rebels are not happy with Andor being there, but Val says he's fine, he's okay, blah 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 blah. And then their Imperial contact comes in, some lieutenant guy. He's told them what's going to happen, and then we get the whole plan. It's going to be get to the dam, steal a train, put the money and rifles on the train, and then get out that way. And there's going to be this festival that happens, the one I explained, where they celebrate the gods. There's going to be this bunch of a meteor shower over it that's going to cover their escape from the Imperial TIE fighters. So yeah, that's their plan. Steal the money, get out on the train, and use the asteroid field for cover. And that's it. And the ending of Andor's story in this episode is he gets a file or a computer given to him, and now he's got to learn everything about the planet, learn everything about the dam area and the language and all that stuff. He's got to do it before the morning, and that's how Andor's episode ends. It was boring, but I mean, it's not that bad. I've seen worse Star Wars shows, Kenobi, Boba Fett. I mean, I will give this show credit. It's not pissed me off. It's not destroyed any characters so far. So, credit where credit's due. So, let's go into the other stuff. So, we finally meet the woman character called Dreadma. Is it, what's it face? No, it's not Dreadma. Oh, it is. It's Dedra Miro. Now, she works for the IFB. No, it's ISB. Imperial Security Bureau. That's it. So we finally meet Dedra. She heads off to ISB intelligence headquarters, where we meet a major, and we finally see how the Empire's security intelligence operations are kind of handled. So what it is every member of this command group is given a sector to watch over. They spy on everybody, they look at all intelligence in that area, so everybody's given their own place to kind of watch over. And the major kind of explains the situation. It's like, we need to make sure that the Empire is safe, we need to make sure no rebellion is formed, we're here to pretty much protect the Empire. And that's kind of great. But in this meeting, it's pretty much explained the Empire's doing fine with security. There's not a massive rebellion. There's small pockets of resistance, but the Empire seems to be able to handle it. Then we find out about what happened on Ferrix, whatever the fuck it's called. Ferrix, about Andor's escape. and it turns out the Empire are not exactly happy about the security corporation fucking up, because it makes the Empire look bad when the person that they've left in charge of a sector can't secure a sector. So the Major sends Blevin, Lieutenant Blevin, to go to Corpo headquarters and pretty much tell them they're fired. So we go to security headquarters, where Blevin gives a dressing down to Khan, his commanding officer, and that Scottish sergeant. And I kind of feel sorry for the Scottish sergeant. He did do his job, and he does try to, speak up for himself, but Blevin pretty much tells him to shut the fuck up. And Blevin gives a dressing down to Khan because this is his fault. And I also love the fact we're finally seeing ISB troopers. We're not seeing just stormtroopers everywhere, because it is kind of ridiculous how the stormtroopers are everywhere, and the Empire is a vast place. It has different operations, so obviously ISB would obviously have their own stormtroopers, and I like seeing them. So they've pretty much taken over all security of the Corpo sector. Now, my problem with this is the corporation security in the EU. They were partners with the Empire. They weren't their bosses. The Empire wasn't the corporation, security corporation's bosses. They were kind of joint partners. And I don't see why the Empire would fire everybody. It would kind of be ridiculous, because all these people have worked here longer than the Imperials are going to bring in to secure this sector. And you're kind of going to, screw yourself with intelligence, because you need to keep people who know the lay of the land. So what should have happened, in my opinion, was all of these security members should have just been taken over by the Empire and just given Imperial uniforms and given the job with the Empire. They shouldn't have been fired, because apparently they were all fired because Blevin pretty much gives a dressing down to the commander of this security bureau and says you were useless in command. And I think it was dumb to fire them all. But the next scene with the Empire is Deidre finds out from the attack on Pharax or whatever the fuck it's called, that Andor's crate full of these security cards and stuff was in her sector, and now she wants to take over the operations in that security bureau sector to find out who's stolen intelligence and security files from her sector. But Blevin doesn't want her to do that, because that's his sector, and he wants control of this operation and of this investigation. So Deidre goes to the Major and asks him to give her authority to take over the investigation, but the Major says no, because that's not her job. She has to worry about her own sector, and it's not her right, basically. And he tells her to get back to work and to get on with writing her reports. Now, I like the fact they're bringing in the bureaucracy of the Imperials working in this sort of job, because if you've ever worked in that sort of job, bureaucracy is everywhere. You can't just do something that's going to help. It's got to go through a lot of people. If you've worked in an office, you know what this is like. It's you want to sort something out, but you can't do it because your boss is just going to tell you that's not your job. So I kind of like they're bringing bureaucracy into the Empire. I know some people are going to find that boring. I kind of find that interesting personally, but it was a good addition to add in to this show. So we see Khan go back to Coruscant. It was actually great to finally see Coruscant again. We haven't seen Coruscant in, I think, about 10 years at least live action, 10 years. I liked Coruscant. I hope we get a view of the Jedi Temple. Well, now it's going to be Palpatine's castle now. But yeah, it would be good to see that place again. I think they did well with the design of Coruscant. They didn't change it into some weird thing. They didn't get rid of the CGI. It looks great, and I'll give the show credit for that. So Khan goes back to Coruscant to see his mum, and that's about all he does in this episode. Gets a dressing down from Blevin, sorry. Blevin goes home to his mum, and that's all he does in this episode. I kind of hope they're not putting Khan in this like stupid position where he's just going to be at home with mum all season. I kind of wanted to get back in the fight. I like his character a bit because, you know, he's a tryhard. I'll give him that. He's a tryhard. He wants to work. He wants to be professional. You saw that when he was working for the corporation security. I think if he joined the Empire, I think he'd thrive there. So I hope he does join the Empire at the end. I kind of think Deidre is going to be the one to bring him back. So I hope that does happen. But yeah, Khan doesn't do much in this episode. So let's get the last bit of the episode, which is finding out about Levin and what he actually does. Now, when I saw the trailer, I thought he was going to be an Imperial Senator. Turns out he's not. When he arrives back to Coruscant, he gets changed into his secret identity, let's just say, and he turns out to be an antique shop owner, where he owns a lot of interesting antiques, especially one that turns out to be Starkiller's armour. I saw that at the back there. I like that sort of thing. I do like the Easter eggs. Again, you don't have to throw in Easter eggs in your face. Just leave it in the background or make it like some boring sentence from a character. You don't have to shove it in our face. We don't need a cameo every fucking show. So I like that little addition. So he runs an antique shop, and Mon Mothma comes to visit him to buy a present for her husband. And what we find out in this scene is Mon Mothma is bankrolling the small rebellion. Now, in the EU canon, that was not really her job. She was mainly to find troops for the rebellion. That was what she did. So I think they're changing her role into being the bank or the money person for the rebellion. She pretty much explains she's trying her best to get more money for the rebellion, but it is difficult because ISB is on her ass, and she thinks her driver, because she was driven there in her limo or something, and she thinks that's an Imperial agent to watch over her. And pretty much more and more the Senate is being taken control of by the Emperor. You know, senators are either being silenced or being paid off in some parts. And I like kind of hearing about. Again, I've always wanted to hear about the Empire's political side. Like, how did the Emperor keep control of these senators? Like, didn't any senator speak out? I want to see more of that, hopefully. So Levin tells Mon Mothma he needs more money for more troops. Mon Mothma wants to bring in somebody else into the rebellion. He says that's not her job, or that's not a smart thing, even though he's already done that, bringing somebody new. But apparently Mon Mothma bringing in somebody is just going to be a security risk, and he wants to focus on the people he has, because apparently now he's in charge of the rebellion. They don't really explain that much about the rebellion in this episode, but I think he is in charge. So Mon Mothma tells him she'll try to get more money for him, and she'll be back tomorrow with more information or more money or whatever. So Mon Mothma goes back to her limo. She goes back home. We meet her husband for the first time. Again, great set. Mon Mothma's house looks fantastic. We meet her husband. Turns out her husband's a dick. He wants to have a party with all these Imperial senators who hate his wife. So apparently we're finding out that Mon Mothma is not in a happy marriage. I have got to say, I don't give a fuck about this. I would like to find out more about her job in the Senate and how she handles being in the Imperial Senate, but I couldn't give a toss about her relationship with her husband, because it looks like it's a bad relationship. He doesn't give a shit about his wife's feelings. He's bringing in friends of his that apparently hate her or are doing all they can to get rid of any sort of legislation she's trying to bring in to help people. And apparently some of the people he's bringing to dinner have caused a famine on a few worlds. So she's not happy about these people being brought to the party. And yeah, I think that was an interesting scene at some points. But again, I don't care about her relationship with her husband. And yeah, that's it. That's the episode. Again, I think it's a 6 out of 10. It's a good episode. Problems for me are parts are boring. Andor needs massive work done to make him an interesting character. But it's still a good show. It's not terrible. We're not at Kenobi levels or Boba Fett levels of cringe or terrible law-breaking storylines. It's just an okay episode. And for right now, for Star Wars, I think that's all we can hope for. Something that's not terrible, something that's not going to piss me off, or at least piss fans off. So, yeah. And that's my review. If you like my review, give it a like. If you dislike my review, give me a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. Entertainment Soldier. Bye.